I want the truth and nothing but the truth.
What's up everyone, it's your lawyer, Godot, and if you end up liking this video and the type of content on this channel, make sure to stay and rush that like button and also subscribe with notifications on, as a staggering 98% of you are not subscribed to this channel, which is pretty insane. Like, please help a brother out. Like, let's get this channel to 50k subs. Today's topic is the truth about Gold Experience Requiem versus Made in Heaven. And the truth is, GER would lose. Now, this is a pretty controversial take, and some would ask, Jobber, what warrants you having this take? GR would easily win against Made in Heaven. It's common knowledge. And my response to that, to the new or OG viewer, is the stuff I talk about and stances I hold on this channel, like scaling wise, are anything but common. And recently I just dropped a very informational video debunking GER, as GER simply isn't as strong as everyone claims him to be, which leads to most GER scales being a bunch of misinterpreted and even wanked stuff, whether it be by accident or on purpose. Anyways, let's progress to giving a quick scaling summary of GER then Made in Heaven. I promise I won't take 40 minutes when I talk about GER. I have made spark notes for explaining GER. If you all want all the details or hyper specific questions on something I may not have gone over with GER, I have a 40-minute video right here on the channel for y'all. GER's stats refer to its ultimate ability, revert to 0 stats, not its physical stats. GER's stand description in Part 5 supports this, as it only talks about revert to 0, as well as other JoJo guidebooks like JoJo Godot and JoJo Valor, with GER explanations that express the idea that revert to 0 is what's being talked about in reference to the stand measuring rod. Quote, the ability of Requiem selected by Arrow is impossible to compare with the existing stand measuring rod. Even Jorno, the main body, doesn't know about the power that makes all willpower go away. There's also tons of examples of stands in series having stats that don't refer to their physical stats, like Sky High from JoJo Part 6. The stand is attached to Requiem, does nothing physically, and its stats reflect that, having none in destructive force, speed, precision, growth potential, with the range of the stand being it/its user's field of vision, and a C in permanence being staying, right, how long the stand can remain summoned, and the rods, the stand commands, are just separate from the stand entirely, as they're living organisms. Which means GER would only scale above King Crimson, who's relative to Silver Chariot with its armor on, who has small city level AP and durability, as well as being massive fast line speed. AP and durability scaling from deflecting the beams from the sun that has that kind of power behind its attacks, as well as cutting Hangman, which is consistently calced at over 1,000 times faster than light. Revert to 0 being impossible to compare with the existing stand measuring rod doesn't at all mean that it's above the stand measuring rod. It just means that the ability is hard to quantify physically because it lacks a physical presence like destructive capability, speed. For example, with speed, the ability just doesn't move because it's just a non-existent property until it's brought out in activation/reaction to something happening. Durability, also just lacking physical presence, once again being hard to quantify, right, and etc. And its ability is to just return an attacker's will and actions to 0 in pure reaction to them. So the speed of the ability is reliant on how fast GR can apply the ability before an opponent finishes their attack, or how fast the ability itself can react to an opponent before they finish their attack, which will make the ability massively faster than light plus in reaction time, being able to react to King Crimson before he finished his attack. Another stand ability that's very similar to GER's Revert to 0 in terms of being hard to quantify physically is Burning Down the House from JoJo Part 6. Once again, all of its stats, being none, refer to the stand's ability that brings about ghost objects, rooms, etc. All these things are hyper hard to quantify the ability physically for obvious reasons such as its strength, speed, durability, staying, precision, learning, and also the ghost objects can't even interact with living beings, further tying into why all of its stats are just none. It can't interact with anything, right? Doesn't do anything. Now, when it comes to King Crimson, there's a belief that King Crimson erases physical time, and GR reverting it would be 4D, as well as having inaccessible speed, right, moving in 0 time, right, being able to react in a place with no time. So let's get things straight. King Crimson doesn't erase time physically, or in a literal sense. He just erases people's perception or experience of time. Everything that seems to be visually removed during time erase is just still there, as well as the people moving unconsciously in it are still there and aren't just a projection, as Bruno is able to hit a stone, pillar, right? Like, if nothing was there in like time erase, right? Like everything was really gone, he would have hit nothing, right? And Diablo is just throwing blood in people's eyes during time skip. I mean, if they weren't there, they're just projections who just went right through them, right? So yeah. Anyways, for the Aerosmith bullets going through Diablo, it just means that he's intangible when like the ability like is activated, as even guides support him having like absolute attack avoidance with like time erasure like during that like period of time, with the burden that he can't like physically interact with anyone during his ability's duration. Finally, the last reason Diablo isn't actually erasing time physically is because he'd be erasing physical change / space, because time itself isn't a spatial dimension of any kind. Like many people believe it to be like the fourth dimension. Time is just simply a rate of change present in the dimensions we know about, and the fourth dimension is just a dimension with an additional axis of space beyond the regular three the third dimension has. Anyways, if Diablo erased time temporally, as we'll call it, he'd just halt physical change / space, and nothing would progress towards the new events to skip towards, as they haven't happened yet, because time hasn't progressed due to being erased for a certain period of time, which is definitely not the case whenever Diablo uses his ability. And the notion that Diablo erases time like temporally would also mean that every unconscious thing or being moving in time skip or erase would have inaccessible speed, which is definitely not true. And in more like extreme examples, if Diablo with King Crimson literally erased the universe, that would imply him and other characters also have just universal plus durability, which is obviously not true. Anyways, GR reacting to and reverting time erase isn't really that impressive as people make it out to be. It just means that GR is immune to like having its own perception of time altered when it comes to Diablo's time skip / erase specifically, as GR's ability and like existence is an exact counter to King Crimson as a whole, because that was Jorno's deepest desire when he was stabbed with the arrow. Also, GR's revert to zero ability overpowered like time erase, right? GR's attack power surpassing that of existing stands is just in reference to its revert to zero ability. Even in the same translation, at the end it says, so it could be said to be like a perfect stand, in reference to like GR being an ultimate stand. Ultimate stands have ultimate abilities, and examples Star Platinum, stopping time, and ability having an attack power that like surpasses that of existing stands is no different than just being the strongest stand ability ever. Plus, it's literally stated that time stop is the ultimate invincible stand ability in raw translations of Star Platinum's like first stand stats like a description, right, in JoJo Part 6. All this means that revert to zero as a hacks would scale above every other stand ability Part 5 and below. There's also another thing that GR would still exist in Part 6 regardless of Jorno having the arrow, because a fully realized Cemetery Requiem is capable of existing without the arrow in its own art, which leads into Star Platinum not only being like an ultimate stand with an ultimate ability too in Part 6, but is also stated to be like the physically strongest, fastest, and having the strongest like stand ability time stop, right, still, which would either make time stop equal to revert to zero as a low ball, or simply above it as a mid ball. Also, Jorno like is just not only in Part 6, but is also in Florida during the whole like Maiden Heaven arc. The only reason why like Maiden Heaven did get reverted to zero because the ability isn't an attack really. The only thing that's an attack is Poochie blitzing to slice apart people. The other interpretation for GR needing to hit a target with an attack in order for revert to zero to take effect goes as follows. Just GR fires a beam at Diablo, striking him. After that, the ability of revert to zero immediately nulls your will, actions, and abilities, which explains why Diablo's abilities, and actions stop before they finished. GR's Part 5 stand description also supports this idea, as well as other JoJo guides consistently saying around the lines of those struck by this power will have like even their deaths revert to zero, right? Now, the infinite death loop. In order for this, loop to activate, GR needs to put his opponent near death, as Trish confirms that, Diablo is still alive after he gets punched into the river, / stream, and Trish is, the main source of sensing Diablo's life energy, and soul, right, and presence throughout the park consistently. We even see Diablo near death in the river state that he's barely alive and, survives somehow. Then, of course, the death loop activates Diablo to different points in time to almost die every time. Finally, GR in a fight will not make the first move, as that's a pretty consistent thing for GR to just do, is just stand there for a bit. And even let the enemy do whatever they want, including letting them use their abilities, okay? It's pretty consistent, he just is mostly reactionary, doesn't make the first move. Now, on to Maiden Heaven, whose scaling is far more simple and straightforward. Maiden Heaven Poochie in terms of AP should be in the small seed level plus to maybe seed level ranges, as Poochie just straight up one-shots Jotaro and Maiden Heaven. This is incredibly impressive, as Jotaro and Star Platinum skill above a small city level Silver Chariot due to fighting an amped Silver Chariot empowered by multiple times and having statements of consistently being the physically strongest stand throughout parts 3 to 6. Finally, Jotaro was surviving attacks from the world, a stand that is far stronger than a base Star Platinum. For durability, Maiden and Poochie should once again scale to the small C level plus to C level plus because of Poochie just tanking a bloodlusted Star Platinum fist to the face. The context of that durability feat is just Jotaro protecting his daughter from Seaman Poochie, and 5 seconds later, Jotaro stops time and throws a spear at Poochie's head. So it's pretty clear that Jotaro, throughout his interaction with Seaman Poochie, he was trying to kill him. And if you, for some reason, don't buy that, bare minimum, Jotaro was not holding back on Poochie. Speed is pretty simple. Beginning of time acceleration, Maiden and Poochie is just blitzing Jotaro twice. So bare minimum, Maiden and Poochie is starting with speeds far faster than Star Platinum, which would be a higher end of Massively Faster Lane Plus in speed, along with the fact that Maiden and Poochie's speed is constantly accelerating to infinity, which would lead to the fact that he has, or eventually would, quickly have infinite or maybe even immeasurable speed, as that could be argued too. For hacks, Maiden Heaven accelerates time in the universe to infinity, resetting the universe, and Poochie's the only person that can keep up with how fast things are going. Maiden Heaven was able to even briefly shorten time stop once, but never again though. Alright, now onto the fight between GR and Maiden Heaven. Restless Gambler, give me your energy! So the battle would start and damn, GR got blitzed. Anyways, the result was pretty obvious. Maiden Heaven Poochie is way too fast for GR to even fire off a neuron in its stand brain to activate Revert to Zero. And for another interpretation that makes things worse for GR would be far too slow to even tag Maiden Heaven Poochie to make Revert to Zero activate or take effect. And even if I were to be gracious and give a scenario where maybe Poochie gets off guarded for GR to land a hit, Poochie would still just blitz the Revert to Zero ability faster than it can activate. Also, if it wasn't obvious enough, the Death Loop is a non-factor in this fight. GR can't even land a hit, and it doesn't even have the AP, time, and speed to put Maiden and Poochie near death for the Death Loop to activate. And once again, another best case scenario for GR is if it's able to hit Poochie, Maiden Heaven Poochie with Revert to Zero before getting speed blitzed. Not only will GR's ability just be shortened, because despite it being causality manipulation, it's just a fancier way of saying time manipulation. Maiden Heaven Poochie canonically shortened a stronger ability, that being time stop. So there's no reason Maiden Heaven shouldn't just shorten or maybe even completely negate Revert to Zero via Maiden Heaven overpowering the ability. Revert to Zero just being weaker than time stop in terms of hack's potency. Even if I highball GR's Revert to Zero ability and say it's above time stop and works on Maiden Poochie completely, what's GR's game plan after that lucky break? What's he actually gonna do against Maiden Poochie after that? The answer is absolutely nothing. The stand and Revert to Zero are far too slow to even comprehend Poochie, and are far too weak to even hurt him physically in any meaningful way, which all leads back to Maiden and Poochie speed blitzing and one-shotting a befuddled GR. So that's the conclusion of this fight. Maiden and Poochie takes this fight no to maybe low difficulty. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. I know I probably angered a lot of GR fans, but the truth is, Golden Experience Requiem ain't that strong, sucks to suck, the copium shall continue, and even onto later videos most likely. Anyways, make sure y'all go follow my Twitter. I'm quite strangely active on there. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.